Now, again, let me repeat what suspension is so that it will help us. Now, another thing I want us to take notice is if you study most of the court verdict, I want us to take time and go. You can go out to go and check the industrial court verdict. You will observe one thing. Number one, two cases are judged differently. Why? Now, there is difference between court pronouncements and the law's pronouncements. Allow me to use that word like that. Pronouncement is the final, verdict. But law, okay, let me say provisions of the law. This is what I mean. If law says, if somebody kills another person, he will be killed. That's what the law says. That is not final. That will be interpreted by the court. You know why? As I mentioned, court always look at three principles, which is upon which the law is a premise: equity, fairness, and justice. Now, having looked at that, the law will further look at another principles, which are the facts before the court. That is evidences to prove that this happened or this didn't happen. Then the court will also look at cases like situations and circumstances surrounding it. Now, somebody kills somebody. Court will now ask, was it malicious? Was it intentional? Was it mistaken? Was it self-defense? These are circumstances. But if somebody just say, no, the court says if you kill somebody, you'll be killed. It doesn't work that way. How did he kill him? Who killed who? The person who killed somebody, is even a minor? And why did he kill him? He killed him because he was kidnapped, you see. So those circumstances or circumstantial evidences will also be presented to court. And even where there are no evidences, court will look at so many other variables, as I mentioned, and that includes context and content. So that somebody goes to court in his own case, and then he was suspended, and court say pay him. It doesn't mean that the other person too will be paid, because there were so many variables that play out, which were not open to everybody, but it was in the court that it was adjudged, and then it was determined. I understand that when you go to court, this is the way court operates. What you bring is what they will treat. Let me give an example. It's like somebody who goes to the hospital and say, I want to treat head injury. He will not say, doctor, so as I treat this injury, help me treat my ulcer too. They will not do that. You need to enter what happened to you, because your diagnosis report must show what they need to treat. The same way too, what you bring to court is what court will treat. If you say, I am coming to fight for my pension, you cannot come back and say, I want to fight for my salary. Because you're saying what you brought is pension. If you are going to fight for your salary, you will go and file another application. That's how court operates. You can't be, if you're going to be joining issue and joining issue, they will be filed separately, except in that original decision, you stated all of them. That's why you always observe that when you see pronouncement, they will say, this person, number one, he's sentenced for 4 years for attempt to murder, another 4 years for murdering, another 10 years for conception. So you see, so that is how cases are handled in the court. So let's now come back to suspension. Now look at it literally. What is to suspend? To deactivate temporarily. Look at that word, temporary. It means it's not permanent. And you see, you will go back again. Also, don't forget that when you bring your case before the court, it also depends on the argument of the parties. That's why anyone that cannot talk cannot go to court, because court will not say, God knows the truth. There's not like God knows the truth. If you cannot argue your case, good case can be messed up by a poor judgment or poor lawyer. So don't say, this person went to court and he won. It doesn't mean that everybody will win. If he's not able to argue his case creditably, he will lose. Even if you have evidences, evidences will not speak. It will speak through human being. And the human beings are the one that will apply that evidences and make it meaningful, interpretable, logical, and then acceptable by the judge. Otherwise, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. However good it is, it's not going to fly. Judge will not say, okay, maybe. It's not like maybe. Facts, evidences, situation, and circumstances will determine. Now, suspension. Go back again and connect to the universal labor. There's a universal ILO principle. What is that principle? No work, no pay. No work, no pay. So now go back again and link it up. If I do not work, will you pay me? You see, the answer is no. Now the question is, why did I not work? That's another subject. I did not work because I, on my own, stay away from work. You see. Now, so that we can understand what informs suspension, and how the court interprets suspension. I did not work because I chose not to work. Look at it. Two, I did not work because they did not give me work to do. Three, I did not work because they asked me not to work. So you see all those variables. Now let's go back to the first one. If you do not work because you choose not to work, you will not be paid because you choose not to work. Secondly, if you call people to come to work, the work is the entire activities. The job is your portion. So the difference between, that's why you cannot say I'm going to my job place. You know why? Because your job is just one element in the work. Where we are going to is the workplace. That is where we pick all the activity and you pick your own. So we are not going to the job place, but the workplace. So when you now get to the workplace, what happens? You pick your own job out of the entire work. Now, if you tell people to come to the factory and they arrive at the factory, and on arrival, there is no material to produce, it is not them. You will pay them because they have come. And it is not them that refuse to come, but you asked them to come, but you didn't provide. You created redundancy. You didn't create it. You will pay. Now, if you have material and everything is available, and before I say, please do not come to work, do not come to work because we have a technical issue. You can see they have not come. They will not be paid because there was no work, there was no effort. Now, the next one is this, which you are going to see in the Employee Compensation Act, which is called the place of work and the cost of work. I'm sorry to bring this up, just for clarity. Under the former or default workman compensation, you will not be compensated if you sustain injury outside the place of work. If you sustain injury at home, it doesn't concern Employee Compensation Act. If you sustain it in your church, it doesn't concern. But under the new Employee Compensation Act, if you sustain injury in the course of work, then you now ask me, what is the meaning of the course of work? It means three things. Number one, it means during the time when I'm in the employment of the organization. Two, it means in the way, in an attempt to carry out my legitimate activities. I am going to the bank, I sustain injury. I'm going to take my breakfast, I sustain injury. They send me official assignment, I sustain injury. I travel abroad, you see, for official purpose or trip. You see, it's not happening in the office, but it's happening in the course of work. You'll be compensated. Now, there are two ways. The one that happens while on official trip, official task, official assignment, I'm going to work, or I'm coming from office to home, or I'm going to the bank, or I'm going to where I eat, or I'm going to buy something. The second one is that because I'm seeing the employment and it happens, you will still be compensated by the Employee Compensation Act. You can see place of work and cost of work. Now let's go back. No, so I did not come to work because I am not feeling fine. Well, you didn't work. To now give you is a subject because the law. That's why the court will be asking you, what does your handbook says? What does your policy says? Because the policy is going to tie you down. If you say he's entitled to 5 days casual leave, the court will ask you, how many days was he sick? He said 3 days. You will be paying because you have already made provision. You see, that's how court operates. I say, but you told him that he's entitled to 5 and he was sick for 3 days. Why are you deducting his money? If you say, because he didn't apply for it, but he was sick, he didn't know he was going to be sick. That is where you see technicality. Now let's come back to suspension, consequential suspension, or investigative suspension. Now, if you suspend somebody as an administrative approach, which I told you, are you getting me? Now you have committed some misdemeanors administratively. You didn't commit criminal offense. Don't forget, criminal is not a criminal offense. Administrative offense. You're coming late too often. You shout at your boss. Even criminal, but serious or civil, you can undo suspension. And your aim as HR, that's what I want you to get. The aim of the suspension is not to punish you, is to correct you so that you will feel bad about what you have done, and next time you will not do it again. That is it. So when the person goes on suspension and is coming back, he will not go and resume to his office. He will first come to the HR department and resolve whether he has learned, he has picked inside, and he has been better. If he comes and he resumes straight to his office, you didn't do any behavioral modification, then the suspension is just to give financial loss, and that has not solved the problem. Let's go back to investigative suspension. When the person is investigated, it is not clear. It is different from the case of two people fighting. That one is clear. Two of you are fighting. We don't want to sack you. We don't want to give you warning. We want to suffer some, emotional disintegration. You say, go on 2 weeks and think. Why do you send your suggestion? Go and think whether you will sit in this job. Go and evaluate what you have done. So the way we put it is what determines. Why you will send you on suspension is number one. Go and rethink if you still want to work here and be part of this Commonwealth. Two, go and evaluate what you have done if you think you have acted rationally. Three, you will be isolated to feel some pinches and pain. They ask, where is Dotun? Is on suspension. It makes you feel bad. I get him. That isolation. Why do you put them why do you put them in detention? It's just to isolate them. That's the essence of detention. Isolating from human being. It doesn't belong to a human being. It belongs to be isolated because its action and act does not justify a human being. So when you isolate him, it feels incarcerated. It feels separated. It feels bad. It feels sorrowful. That is the essence of the suspension. But many people don't understand the logic behind it. That is what we want you to suffer. That I will not do this thing again. Next time, I will know. I feel lonely. I feel alone. I feel ashamed of myself. And people, then you will know that next time. So during that suspension, he begins to think, how could I have shouted? How could I have insulted my boss? Why wasn't I patient? Why? He regrets. He mourns. He cries. He rethinks and he reframes his mindset. So when he's not coming back, he will come to it and say, now you are coming back to work. Have you learned from that action? Say, yes, sir. What did you learn? Well, I learned that next time when I'm provoked, I should calm down. I should have control over my emotion. Okay. And I looked at it very well and I saw that what I did. Why do we say people should do meditation? Is to reflect on things you have done or things you are doing. That is what you want to achieve. Now, when now comes back, it's not because of the money. Why he forfeits because it's not working. No work, no pay. So why will you pay him? Otherwise, everybody will say, send me on suspension. But in the case of this person, he did not commit administrative offenses. Something happened in that department. He's indicted. We are not sure. And that's why we are investigating because we are not sure. The case of those that are fighting, the investigation will that the level of culpability is not, we are not doubting whether they fight because it was sure that he slapped the person, but whether, how much, what led to that, so that we can learn and pick insights next time. Now come back again to deal with this issue. Investigation for indictment. We are not sure. We don't have facts, but it's indicted. So because we are not sure and we want to keep the system in same position, we isolate because that it can be a potential virus in the system. So you isolate that person for independent finding. Why do you isolate? You don't want that person to influence the decisions. And because he's still being investigated, he does not have the moral rights to execute his activities. Now, there are different ways to suspension. It depends on your terms of reference. So we say, we are taking you off the work environment, in particular in an environment like this. So, and it depends on what I say terms. Because we are taking you off, you are to work in remotes. Work remotely, but you will not be seen and cited so that your presence does not create tension in the system. So he is working, but it's not seen. Two, because you'll be indicted on financial misappropriation, we think for now you don't have the moral right to touch any financial activities. You are suspended from the work environment and you are suspended from that regular activities. Don't touch the task, don't do the task, don't handle the task, go away from that job, from that activities, and you are deactivated from receiving official correspondence as far as this task is concerned, but you still remain our employee. What happened? When you carry out your investigation, do not forget that he did not commit administrative offense. He's indicted and you're not sure. And your investigation reveals that he is not guilty. It was just a lie. Otherwise, if everybody that is indicted is punished, we're going to create a very serious chaos. That's why we are investigating, because we are not sure. If you now investigate and it's not culpable, you will restore him, because he's suffering. He has already suffered emotion. Don't forget, he's losing. He has suffered humiliation. He has suffered, disconnection in his flow of work. He has been, morally abused and exposed. His ego is bruised. He has already suffered that one. So you will pay him, because he didn't go on suspension because he committed any offense, but he went because you need to investigate him. Now, why are you paying him? You are not paying if you want to follow the law of no one to pay. You are paying because his own case was an exceptional case of compelling suspension to investigate, and then because you want to clear the misgiving in the system. So you are compensating for the emotions, for the humiliations, for the suffering he has gone through. You will pay him. Nobody can say, investigate me too and let me go on suspension. It's not a good thing. It's a very bad memory. It's a very bad thing, because it can dent your image. That case is different. If you now investigate, just the same way, if you take a person to court and the court says he's not guilty, you will release him now, you will let him go. But if the court says he's guilty, you will retain him and send him to the prison. So if you now find out that this guy is culpable, however, come back again. If what he has committed is criminal, you have an option if you want to if you want to involve because criminal offenses are not under your obligation, under your jurisdiction. You can only undo administrative part of it. So if you want to prosecute the case, then you will go to an independent party, which is the court and the police. It is not the right of any organization to prosecute criminal matters. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. But if you choose that, you want to involve court, that's your own ethic. You want to involve police, that's your own ethic. But criminal matters are not under your jurisdiction. It will get to the police. If you now say you are carrying investigation, you are the one that is handling investigation of criminal matter, then you do not have the rights to do criminal investigation. You can do administrative investigation of the criminal district and hand over to the law enforcement agency. They are the one that are by law allowed to do that. Except if you are sure that what you want to take as decision is just administrative. We don't want to allow, okay? Just sack him and let him go. Or resign and go. We don't want to allow. Fine. But where you need to take punitive actions on criminality, it is not your rule. Now let's go back. What if his case is not criminal, but it's administrative? And under the administrative, the administrative part of the other one, other investigation, not the other one. And let's say he was indicted to have slapped. He was slapping himself, he's getting to that. But he was indicted for something that is not so, is serious, but it's ethical issue, maybe abuse of office. And you find out that he's not guilty, you will restore him. And if you find out that he's guilty of that thing, he's guilty, you cannot pay him for that suspension. Otherwise, you are empowering criminality. You are empowering malady. You are empowering misdemeanors. You are saying you can be stealing and be handing money. And as I said, it depends on how the cases are presented to before court. Because somebody can say, they lie on me. It's not true. So it depends on all those variables. But you cannot be paying, otherwise you are empowering criminality and injustice. So those who argue that, I don't know, the argument will be based on facts, which I mentioned to you, not that I just felt. Otherwise, the court will not honor it. But those cases that people bring to you and show you and say, hey, court awarded 3 million, go and read the full scope. You will see where the faults are. But people don't show you that one. If you always see, don't always look at pronouncement. You will see how the case actually moves. Then it give us clarity about the whole issue, how it moves, what happens, and then the flow will give you a clarity about why the court, awarded penalty and why the court, sentenced the person and things like that. And as I said, court will always look at who suffers most in this case, human beings or the company. because the company is not a human being. I mean, physical human being. It doesn't suffer emotion. Physical human being will suffer emotion, financial loss of job, and so court always look at all the area to balance judgment, and that's what happened. So in the case you cited, if a person is suspended, from the date of suspension, his payment terminates. If you investigate and investigation clears him, you will restore from the point of the termination of the pay to the point is restored. If he is found guilty, the date to stop his payments, are you getting me? That is the date he ceases to earn. If anybody now think that no, he's a robber but should be paid, let him go to court and court will interpret. So if whether argue for honor, no, you see, only court can give verdict. No human being, no lawyer, no son, no judge, no HR expert can give verdict. Everything we argue, we will go to court to interpret. It is the court that will interpret, and whatever the court says is the final. And you can even see appeal. So that is the position of the court and the law. Now, the difference between suspension and termination is that suspension is temporary, termination is perpetual and permanent. Is the severance of the employment relationship. We have divorce. It's different from separation. We have divorce. So if you suspend the person today, it doesn't harm, even if it's lawful, even if he has not, you will still hold it until it is the outcome of the investigation that shows the payment. Some company will say if you are on suspension and you are being investigated, we will pay you 50%. That's already sure. The reason because you think he's a human being, his children will suffer, his wife will suffer, his dependent will suffer. Yes, maybe if he has thought about their suffering too, he wouldn't have acted. But there are various, things are changing, rapidly, and many policies are also changing. Just like the case of leave before, if you join the company, say you are entitled to leave after 12 months, but things are saying change and say no. What if he has issue? So we can prorate your leave too. So these are things that are happening in the structure. So let me know if I've been able to answer you very well, and if you need further input, I am available. Thank you, sir.